Hi everyone, my name is Jessica. I'm a PhD student who's working on the AirSat-1 project, and today we're going to do a space art challenge for the theme Universe. So you're going to need a few things and I'm going to list them for you here. So you're going to need a canvas or a canvas board to work on. You can get these in a few different kind of shops. You're also going to need acrylic paints. The most important colours are black, white and blue for a spacey picture, but make sure to add your favourite colours as well. You're going to need some different size paintbrushes and a sponge, and you're going to need some space to work. Make sure as well that you cover your workspace so that you don't get paint on any tables or furniture, and have some water and paper towels as well to clean your brushes as you go. Your first step will be to make the canvas all black. So here you can see me covering the canvas in black paint, and then I'm just going to spread it out evenly along the canvas, making sure that there's no ridges in the paint. It should only be a thin layer. You don't want any texture on the canvas yet. Once the front of the canvas is all filled, like you can see now, make sure to go over the edges of the canvas as well along the side so that it's more finished when it's done. This is optional, but this is just something I like doing when I'm painting. When your canvas is all black, next we're going to do the spacey starry background. So you're going to want to do this with a sponge. I recommend getting some kind of dish sponge even is fine, and if you rip it, you'll get a nice texture that you can make this cloudy kind of effect for the background. You can see me tapping instead of stroking along the canvas. You want to make sure that you're tapping and dabbing the paint onto the canvas rather than streaking paint across the canvas. It creates that nice cloudy effect. So you can see me going over different bits, using some blue, some purple, some pink, and then white for the highlights as well. You can use whatever colours you like. Blue, purple and pink are just my favourite colours, but it's entirely up to you. You could also use a fluffy brush for this if you wanted, but you're still going to be dabbing the paint onto the canvas rather than doing brush strokes. So you can see me here, it's still kind of dabbing over the same areas, but using some white to highlight as well. So you just keep doing this and building up colour until you're happy with how your background looks. Remember that lighter parts are going to look more in the foreground and the darker parts will look more in the background. So when your background is done, you can start working on the stars. So what you're going to need for this is either a fan brush like I have in the video, or you can use a toothbrush as well. It works really well. So you can wet your toothbrush or fan brush, mix it with white, and then start flicking it over your finger like you can see me doing. You get these small little random dots which are nice for stars. If you want it more precise, you can use a very fine tipped brush and then go individually and place your stars as you want. The lighter you go, the smaller the stars will be, so you can put the smaller ones in the background. You can also then dab over regions so that not all of the stars are in the foreground. When you're happy with your starry background, then we can move on to the planets. So what you want to do now is have a look at your painting and your background and figure out which parts of it that you like and which parts maybe you don't like as much. when we start painting the planets, it's a nice way to cover parts that you might not like as much. So for me, looking at my painting, I quite like this middle part, so I don't want to cover that when I'm painting any planets. So what you want to do is give yourself some white circle outlines for your planets. You can do this with some cups, some old coffee jars, it's up to you. Then you're going to fill in the background of the first planet in white, so that when you're adding in cool tones on top of cool tones, the planets for the colors will still stand out against the background. What you want to do as well is figure out where the light source is in your picture so that you can highlight and shade your planets properly to make them look 3D. So for me, I'm imagining that the light source is sort of in the middle of the canvas above the plane of the canvas. So you can see me adding some white highlights on the side where I think the light would be shining onto the planet. And you just want to do small strokes and add in some detail as you go. And you can keep doing this until you're happy with how your planet looks. So when you're happy with your first planet, then we'll move on to our second. So for me, I wanted it to look a bit like Earth. So again, by filling in the white first, and then we start with blue. Most of you know that the surface of the Earth is mostly water, so that's why I like doing it all blue first, and then we can add green for the land later. You can see me now as well start to darken the blue at the bottom end of the planet, remembering that the light source is near the middle of the canvas, so I want the top of the planet to be lighter. When your blue is dry, then you can start adding dabs of green to mark the land on the Earth. So you can see me doing that here. The goal is not to have a 100% accurate map. You can if you want to, of course, but for me, that wasn't the priority. I'm only adding green here. I just wanted to stick with blue and green. I like the vivid colors, but if you wanted to, you could add yellows, browns, maybe even a little bit of red to mark the drier parts of the globe. Once the Earth is done, you can move on to this little planet beside it, which is actually going to be the moon. So you just need white and black to paint the moon. Again, go over in white first to fill in the background, being careful not to cover your freshly painted Earth. And the background is still a little bit wet. You want to get a smaller brush and some black, and you can start dabbing onto the moon. This will help you create the cratered look of the moon. You want to concentrate a lot of the black on the border of the Earth as well, and this will help it look like the moon is coming out from behind the Earth as it orbits around it. So I decided I wanted to add some clouds onto the surface of the Earth. So all you're going to need to do for this is to get a clean sponge, dab it into white, and just dab some white over the planet. Make sure that the blue and green from before are dry before you do this though. When you're happy with how the clouds look, then you can go over the outline of the Earth in white, focusing on this top part where the planet would be facing your imaginary light source. So now we can move on to our final planet. I decided to do a Mars-like planet, so a red planet. We're not going to do a white background this time because the warm red tones will contrast enough on the cooler tones of the background. Plus, if we do white and it's not entirely dry before you use red, it will make the planet pink instead of red. You can make the planet pink if you want to, but I wanted to make a red planet. Once the base layer of red is down, you can start by adding blacks, browns, yellows for different highlights and lowlights on the planet. So you can see me adding some black here to shade the planet, remembering where your imaginary light source is in the picture. So you can do short strokes to shade and then dab as well to give that cratered look. Then we can add some yellow on the top to shade rather than white, because again, white will make the red turn pink. When you're working with red, usually yellow is better to highlight with. I decided to add some asteroids as well. So to do asteroids, you don't need to give yourself a circular outline before. They're randomly, irregularly shaped objects. So what I like to do is get some white and black on my paintbrush at the same time and just kind of smush the brush into the canvas. This will give you a really weird shape, but it's nice for making the weirdly shaped asteroids. So then you can just remember where your imaginary light source is and highlight those sides. But you doing this, smushing of the paintbrush with the white and black is a nice way to get some rocky, irregular looking texture. So you can add as many or as few asteroids as you like. I didn't want to add too many because I didn't want to overcrowd the image and make it too clustered. Plus, you don't want to cover up too much of your background that you worked so hard on in the beginning. And when you're done your asteroids, then your painting is finished. You can add however many planets and asteroids as you like, but this is my finished painting. So I hope you were able to follow along, and I hope you enjoyed painting the universe with me. If you paint this, make sure to tag me on Twitter or Instagram so I can see all your paintings as well, and I'm really excited to see them. Thank you.